Okay, let me just get started. Lovely. Toby, well, first game for a while last week, good win. How do you reflect on it?
Yeah, good win, exactly that. Disappointing in the fact I think we were good for a bonus point win, for sure. We played some decent rugby, held up over the line, or for different reasons, 3 times. You know, to cross that whitewash that many times is obviously good and reflects well, but there's no coincidence that, you know, when you get your better players on the pitch, that you get more attacking potency. So yeah, I think that we were good for it, good for the win, which was pleasing, and hopefully that gives us some momentum into this week. It'll make a change playing consecutive weeks for a change.
Those 3 tries that weren't, have you had a word with the URC? Because obviously it could cost you a league point. Just a clarifications on it?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the TMO's decision is the TMO's decision. I'm more interested in the non-decisions, and I've had the dialogue that I've had with them to get clarifications. As I said, post-match I'll go through the right channels and respectfully we can come to to some sort of feedback. But we all want the same thing. We want accuracy and consistency, and that's a challenge for us all.
Right, since you've been here, Toby, this Scarlets game, there's no sort of, not a mythical trophy, but there's something on this, isn't there? How big is this game compared to, it's going to be in front of a crowd, possibly 5 figures. You need to win if you want to finish at the top of the Welsh Shield to be in the Champions Cup next season. Does this game feel like, one of the more important ones, and there's something on it during your time here?
Yeah, I think so. I think the West Wales derby, everyone tells me, and obviously my first experience, I've not played them at home since I've been here. So from that point of view, it's going to be good to do things at home. And as you say, the importance of having a crowd is great. And I know how important it is to the fans and the supporters and people who associate with the club, as it is for them. So. All derbies are significant for sure, but I know for a lot of people this is, even more significant. Let alone the outcomes that you mentioned and how important they are to us, and a reflection on progress that we're making.
How important is the Champions Cup rugby next season? Because pretty much if you lose this, you're probably done in that respect.
Yeah, I think that obviously we want to play at the top table, as high as you can, as long as you can, and as often as you can. So, there's knock-on effects commercially, there's knock-on effects from a recruitment point of view. But we're only, this is the second season of my tenure, and obviously starting from where we've started from, and implementing different things, and new coaching staffs, and lots of, as you say, outliers of influence. We're making steady progress. Would we like to make progress quickly? Of course we can, and that reflects in, where you are in these sort of competitions.
What have people told you about this derby when it's played in front of fans, in front of big crowds?
They haven't really. I've obviously seen quite a bit of footage of them in the past, and the way people talk about it, the way people act around it, there's definitely obviously buoyed by a good win, and understanding who we're going up against. It's a significant game for sure, and I don't think anyone would be taking this one for granted for sure.
How would you assess Jack Morgan's performance against Cardiff last week, Toby, and given the fact he's playing against his former region, how pumped up will he be this week?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think that Jack's actually, to be fair, he's pretty pumped up most weeks, really. He's forced his way into the Welsh setup. He's been very influential and notable in the stuff that we've done, the good stuff we've done this year. And in my view, deserved his call-up and has thrived in that environment. So, yeah, it's important for him, but he'd be the first to say, because of the kind of guy he is, how important it is for... It's not about him, and it's important for the team, and a sign of progress. So that's the be all and end all for it. And individual accolades come if the team play well.
And you've given Gareth Thomas a signed a new 3-year contract. Can you just highlight his progress since you've come in? And he's obviously got international honours, and it's obviously quite a long deal as well. Yeah,
I mean, the surprising thing for me was that he hadn't featured more significantly beforehand, if I'm honest, and starting from pre-season, the season before, he epitomises for me a modern loose head that's got a bit of pop a bit of change of pace and dynamic. And I think, you know, the loose heads that I'm used to in the Premiership, people like Genge and Benno Urbano for a couple, and you know, he's a similar type of loose head to that. And the modern game needs good athletes and good dynamism to you know, influence the game. You still have to be very good at your functional roles, obviously set piece. And the more we put him out there and the more we develop and the longer he's in the system, you know, I think the better he'll get. But we're obviously delighted to have him around. He's been, you know, a player that's progressed again, another one that's progressed through our programme into the Welsh team. And that bodes well. And the feedback I've had from the Welsh coaches is that, you know, they're very pleased with him. So, you know, that probably speaks volumes.
The housekeeping, Toby, anybody missing from last weekend? Any bumps you picked up from the game against Cardiff?
Max Nagy, he's obviously he limped off, as you saw. It'll be too soon for him. He looks like he's probably going to be done for the season, I think. So he'll be an absentee. But as we discussed, or as you have asked me every week for the last 3 months, George North is available. So that's the exciting part.
So he's available this week.
He is.
How will you manage him without giving your team away, obviously? But, you know, in terms of he's coming back first time in a year, starting, replacing that happen. What's the dynamic you've got to weigh up in that respect?
Oh, again, how he feels about it, how ready he is, and also the team that's got out and performed well. So from that point of view, injury creates an opportunity. But again, we need to be mindful of where we are and what we've got.
Toby, how pleased were you with the performance against Cardiff?
Well, I was really pleased with aspects of it from a set piece point of view. Obviously, to be dominant there, I thought defensively we were very good. I mean, according to our own stats, you know, they only entered, you know, R22 for 10 seconds in time. So from that point of view, that probably represents a good performance from game management, but also defensively against a team that likes to attack with width and with pace. So those aspects really stood out. Obviously, scoring 3 tries and not 4 was disappointing because of you know, being held, or 3 TMO decisions that didn't go our way, and applying more pressure through the avenues that we've just spoken about. So, yeah, very pleased. Very important win for us to move forward. A tinge of frustration that we didn't get 5 points.
What areas, Toby, do you think you can improve with the side?
Well, I think we need to improve from an attacking consistency point of view, but again, what levels that? We're implementing quite, you know, some different stuff, and a lot of those boys have been injured at the top of that pyramid for, you know, 12 to 18 months prior to this. So the more they're out there, the more they understand it, the more you see replicate the decisions of making good decisions. But there's been a significant upturn in the last, you know, 4 weeks in particular. Last week of South Africa training, the way we prepared for this game in the training vision that allows us to be more attacking and more potent around that, because we've basically got better players on the pitch and more competition for places. So, yeah, it's a multi-layered thing, but yeah, we want to be more potent in attack for sure.
Now, how do you assess the Scarlets and what they bring and where their threats are? They're on a little bit of a roll, aren't they?
Yeah, again, depends how far. It's like anything. It depends how far back you go. I'm sure post South Africa, like all of us, they weren't that buoyant about where they were going, and obviously then, you know, back-to-back wins against Cardiff. All of a sudden the world's changed. You get Dragons at home, they bounce back. So yeah, it's a bit of an arm wrestle. They're a very good team. Everyone knows they're a good team, and it's they pose a different threat to Cardiff. Obviously, Dwayne's gone in there and implementing some of his own stuff. I can see some of the Ulster stuff in what they do now. So, yeah, they're changing and evolving, and they're performing well. So, you know, on the back of last week, we performed well, and we need to take that confidence and accuracy that we brought last week into this week.
What did you think of Ali Wynn's performance?
I thought he was part of a dominant set-piece performance. Again, he hasn't played rugby for a long time, so he'll be better for the outing, as a number of them were. Yeah, I was pleased with him. I thought he was influential, and in the position that's often in a lot of the unseen stuff. So yeah, I was happy with him.
Yeah, I've asked you this before. Every other region appears to be making signings almost across the board. I mean, we've seen one at Cardiff this week, Tamani, and that goes with Faletau, Thomas Young, and Liam Williams. The Ospreys haven't made any. Does that concern you?
Well, it's actually not factually true. So we've signed Scott Baldwin and we've signed Sam Moore. So there's two. They just happen to be in the season that we're in. Now, obviously, that was made out of necessity, unfortunately, around Evan's situation. So that's obviously just what you do. But we're in a contract cycle where if you haven't got money available or people out of contract, you can't necessarily make the signings you want to sign that you want. The positive element to that is the significant people, your Justin Tippett, Alan Jones, Gareth Anscombe, George North, Alex Cuthbert, those guys, Dan Lydia, those guys are coming back from injuries. They've got to act as new signings for us and bring that momentum, because it's a World Cup year. Everyone's desperate to move forward. Everyone wants to improve their squad. I think our improvement comes, around having your most significant players available to you more. So we've also got the capacity the following year to make a lot of signings, because we've got a lot of people off contract. We had some off last year. We've got very few off this year. It's an inherent situation. And then the following year, there's a massive capacity for change. So unfortunately, you've been dealt the hand you've been dealt, and you have to let these things unwind. And if haven't got the financial capability to change that, then you have to wait and go with what you got.
With Adam Beard, who's up next, have you been pleased with his development this year?
Yeah, very much so. I mean, the fact that he's got a leadership role for Wales, the fact he's been very influential in our group, growing as a leader, and performance consistency, especially as we've obviously got under into the nuts and bolts of his own performance when he was left out from Wales. And we've done a lot of work, all of us, around getting him back to being what he wants to be. And that was I suppose the two endorsements of his performance are around he became a British Lion player, and he's now got a vice captaincy role for Wales. So that shows you how significant his improvement has been.
Do you see him, Toby, as a future Wales captain?
I don't pick that captain, so I can't really comment. If you ask me from a Ospreys point of view, certainly. So I think that every coach wants as much leadership as they can get, whether it's in your order, in their area, by example, or the influence it has on others. So Adam Beard is certainly a guy that can do that.
Yeah, and winding up really, is it safe to write that George will feature this weekend for you?
I think you'll be okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I think you'll be okay.
But you're not in a position to say whether he's a starter or not.
I am in the position, but I'm not in the position. I am not going to tell you that, Mark. No, I am in the position to tell you that, but I'm not going to say it.
Brilliant. Thanks very much.
No worries. You're okay.
Cheers.
Hi, Toby. Most of us have been asked, but just on the subject of George, you've been saying for quite a few of these, for quite a while, these really, really, really close. What's been happening over the last sort of 6, 7, 8 weeks in terms of his fitness, and what sort of changed for this week?
So I think I've said before, I have said about George, but about others. So the last 5% is the hardest part, because you don't know how you respond to training, especially for a long-term injury, and how your body reacts. So your body has to get used to the load that you're putting through it and be confident in it. So with George, we got him to that point. And then his body would react, and then we have to back it down, and then we have to do certain things with it and certain bits of prehab, and until you get it to a point where your body doesn't react, and you are able to back up day on day training, not day after, and instead of every other day or week on week training, to get to a volume where not just about the injury, that you're not in a place where you can injure yourself through load management or, you know, overload, etc. So you're really governed by how your body reacts to long-term injuries and the training load when you start to train again. And yeah, George's one wasn't straightforward, to be fair. And you know, we can only be governed by how the player feels, how the player reacts, and we've finally got to a situation where his body's good enough to back up the training he requires to perform well. So from that point of view, he's now available.
So the fact you have been cautious, can we take that now as a pretty good sign in terms of the end of your season and looking ahead to South Africa, that he's in pretty good shape?
I think you can take some confidence in the fact that his body can deal with playing, and that's ultimately what we're here to do. Obviously, there'll be post-game, there'll be see what happens in that, and there's more uncontrolled collisions. But yeah, we've certainly got we're not all the way up the ladder, but we've certainly got our feet on it this time, and that's encouraging for us. And we'll see what happens, you know, post this weekend, and to see how he pulls up from the following game. One of the advantages is obviously we go into a Sunday game against the Dragons, which means there's an extra day to recover. So, you know, from that point of view, we hope, like all of our players, our aim is not to get them back for one-offs; it's to get them back to stay back. And you know, that's important that we have the welfare of our players still at the centre of the decisions we make.
And just for these last few weeks of the season, are you looking at him as a 13 or a wing?
Well, the advantage is, you know, we talked about influence of good players, and you want all your best players on the pitch. So whether that's in whatever position that is, George is, you know, a good player that can have an influence on the game. So I know that he's played both, but we also want to be in a situation where he gets confidence in what he knows. So look, we see the fact that he can play multiple positions an advantage, and getting our best players on the pitch is really important to us.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Are you seeing a player of potential there? Because if you rewind 2 or 3 years, he was rated that highly. I think Eddie Jones called him up to have a look at the England squad.
Sure.
There was talk about Wales and England being involved in some kind of tug of war for him. Are you seeing him as a player of potential?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, obviously, I wouldn't have bought him if I didn't. But yeah, the really exciting thing for me around him is that he can do multifacets part of the game. So he's a decent line-out forward. He can bring the physicality that you need, you know, around the set piece. But in collision-wise, he probably brings more of what we want in relation to, you know, dominant ball carries and attack-based play. We talked about attack earlier, so getting more attack-based players and collision on the pitch, you know, certainly helps, you know, foster that part of your game. So that's why we're excited about him.
Brilliant, and good luck for the weekend.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.